Croatia for this world ranking event, and it's all about the individual podium places. I'm Karen Bashir, and joining me is the man who knows his stuff, Dutch Olympic archer Chef Vandenberg, and we are straight into the action with the compound women's bronze medal match.
Judge of the match is Miss Marlene Credence, and we are ready to go for the first end.
Well, we're straight underway here. Elisa Bazzichetto, the 21-year-old Italian, is world number 92, and she goes up against the Estonian Maris Tetsman, the 24-year-old world number 64. Chef, it's a little blowy out there. Wind looks like it's coming across the range from left to right.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a look at on the flags, and there seems to be quite a blustery kind of wind. So this will make for some interesting matches, I think.
Starts with a 9.
So shooting on the 50-meter range. Compound archery is all about a cumulative score.
9 also for Tetsman.
The practice field is not too far from the finals field, so it should be pretty okay to sight in from there, because the circumstances will be very similar. But with a wind that's blowing from left to right the way it does, it's always going to be difficult to really find the center in the beginning of the match. Bit of a longer hold there, so she didn't have that much time left to get that last arrow off, but manages to keep it within the 8 ring, which does mean that she's trailing by 2 points right now.
Chef, these two came through the ranking round where they shoot 72 arrows to set up for the knockout stages. 9th and 11th, Bazzichetto 9th and Tetsman 11th. But that ranking round it's a very different experience to match play, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. The ranking round is 72 arrows in rounds of 6. So you have 3 or 4 minutes, depending on the format, to shoot 6 arrows, which takes a bit, it takes the time pressure away a bit. You have a bit more time to get in your groove, and it's more of a marathon rather than a sprint. These matches are very short in their format, so it's only 15 arrows. Highest score wins, so there's a lot of consequence if you shoot one bad arrow.
Score are confirmed, and Bazzichetto is leading by 2, so Tetsman will shoot first, the second end.
So as always, the trailing archer shoots first in the next end, and that's Maris Tetsman here from Estonia, going for her first senior medal. Bit of movement there, Chef, on the line.
Yeah,
is that the wind?
I was going to say exactly the same. There's a bit of movement there in her stabilizer, and it doesn't seem like it's necessarily the wind, because it was also up and down. So it might also just be that she's a bit nervous, although I suspect the wind has something to do with it.
Yeah, so you can just see Maris Tetsman just moving around a bit. It's a little bit more stable from the Italian who gets her second 10 of the match.
Yeah, one of the key differences here between Tetsman and Bazzichetto is you can see that Tetsman is waiting for her release to go off. She's working to get her release off. If you could then compare that to the Italian, you can see that she has her thumb completely off the trigger and then goes for it at once. So that's what we refer to as shooting on command, which works for some people, but that's kind of the key. It only works for some people. Most people need to have a certain routine to get their shot to go off and to get their release to go off. shooting on command is very difficult to cope with mentally, because the choice to make the shot might come earlier and earlier, just because that's how your brain works. So it's an interesting tactic from Basiceto.
Working out for her at the moment, though, 56 place 54 provisionally. Of course, we have to wait for the target judge to confirm those scores.
Some good music on the venue.
Start of the third.
10x, fantastic start for Tetzman.
So 2 points to get back into the match. 1 point by now. With 3 ends to go is pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it's possible. Although that doesn't really help her cause. I was going to say, in compound we use cumulative scoring, which means that all the arrow values just get added up until we get a 15 arrow score, which is different from the recurve competition where you shoot set system. So in compound archery, it's arguably a little bit easier to get back into a match if you're trailing by a couple points. Recurve is a bit more harsh in that way, that if you lose a set with 1 point and then win the next one with 5, you're still tied in the match.
Yeah.
2 more points for Basiceto, that is leading now by 4 points when we shot the third end of 5.
Well, that's 7 in the middle there for Tetzman. Is there anything in particular you saw there? It looked like a quicker shot, didn't it?
Yeah, I think the release didn't go off the moment she wanted the release to go off. I think she drifted away from the goal a bit, and then the release went off because of the drifting movement in her bow. So yeah, I think she just drifted off to the left, and then yeah, that made the shot go. So nothing too uncommon, but it's a bit unfortunate in a medal match.
We go with the fourth hand with Maris Tetzman on target 2, shooting first.
So previous end I said 2 points in 3 ends is possible to overcome. Now it's 4 points in 2 ends, and that makes it a bit more difficult. Still not impossible though. If she really puts down some high scores, then she might still be in this match.
It's 9.
What's also interesting about Basiceto's technique is that she really punches her release. She shoots on command, but she doesn't move that much when she moves her hand, which is a risk if you shoot like she does. If you move your thumb in such a rapid manner, there is always a risk of getting some movement throughout the rest of your shot, but she seems to be really steady for the rest.
29, 1 more point of advantage for
So I'm sure she is used to doing this, and she has perfected this technique for her shooting.
When we are 1 and 2 go.
Well, it's been a little inconsistent from Maris Tetzman from Estonia. She's got a few 10s in her run of arrows, but that's 7 in the third. Really opened the door for Bazzichetto. Bazzichetto very much in command now.
Yeah, there's not much she can do wrong here if she just keeps shooting the way she does. Basically, she just points her sight in the middle and shoots a shot. She doesn't make it too difficult, which is, it's interesting to see how she manages to shoot the way she does with her release 8 like that. But it works well for especially windy circumstances where you kind of want to shoot on command sometimes. So I think these circumstances favor her a bit.
Tetzman trailing by 5 then in the 5th. Still that movement there.
It's a liner, I would call a 10.
So that one will go for a measure. That one looks a little bit more convincing, hitting the line for a 10.
Excellent. 9.
Calm shooting there from Bazzichetto. Quite sharp as
Yeah.
well.
All she really wants to do is just keep shooting good shots, and it doesn't even matter if they're like bang on in the middle or if they're just fine,
28.
because she has some room to shoot a mediocre shot, I'd say. But
Another quick one, and just definitely not mediocre. It's into the 10 for a 142 victory against 136, fairly commanding. And it's Elisa Bazzichetto from Italy, who's in Paradise City. Well, Chef, she had a great start, the Italian, silver medalist at the 2021 Veronica's Cup, her last medal for the 21-year-old. But she got off to a flyer and then really stayed in command. And if anything, Maris Tetzman just dropping those couple of points, especially that 7 in the third, really just, I don't want to say made it easy, but for a match of this level, it certainly was a commanding performance from the Italian.
yeah, there were just a couple of arrows that Maris didn't quite hit the middle. She, dropped into the red, dropped a couple more points than she maybe should have, and that just gave Elisa the room that she needed to shoot her shot comfortably and keep the lead going. So it was a pretty one-sided match in this instance, although you wouldn't necessarily suspect it from the way they were shooting. It did show so on the target.
So the first medal decided in the individuals here. It's Elisa Bazzichetto from Italy, the 21-year-old, claiming bronze at the second stage of the European Grand Prix here in Umag, Croatia. Coming up next is the compound women's gold medal match.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to shoot for gold. The gold medal match for the compound woman.
So targets changed here on the Mediterranean coast in Croatia. And it's time to move on to the compound women's gold medal match. Out come the coaches and judge, and just behind them
And
are the athletes.
The two finalists for the gold medal. On target number 1, representing Italy, Andrea Nicole Boccia. Target number 2, representing Luxembourg, Maria Szkolna. Judge of the match is Mr. Barry Strube. And we're ready to go with the first set.
So here we go, the compound women's gold medal match. The 20-year-old Italian Andrea Macchia is the world number 245. Came through the ranking round with a 657 to be ranked 13th. Not so unlucky for her. She made it all the way through to this gold medal match, but goes up against, you have to say, the favourite, the 25-year-old Luxembourg athlete Maria Szkolna, the world number 13 world indoor champion and the silver medalist at this year's Veronica's Cup. Got a silver as well in the first leg of this European Grand Prix, and it will be Szkolna to shoot first.
Yeah, Maria Szkolna has had a really good beginning of the season so far. She has some high ranks in the World Cup ranking as well. Maybe not medals as such, but she has had some top 8 finishes. And like you said, she had that silver medal at the first leg of the Grand Prix. So yeah, she's had a great season so far.
Nine. Ten.
We're seeing again that it's not too easy to find the middle on this venue so far.
10. 28. 29. 29 for Mocha, 28 for Szkolna.
Well, fairly high scoring. I mean, you say it's been difficult. It's a very open venue here, Chef. The Italians have done really well, and if you jump on a boat just in Umag, you're just an hour away due west to Venice. So it's kind of home soil for the Italians, you have to say, and they're doing really well. And the other thing about this match is Machia's got really nothing to lose here. She's definitely going to get her first ever senior international medal, and all the pressure has to be on Szkolna.
Yeah, you would say so. Mutsia is obviously shooting against somebody who is well established on the seniors circuit. And yeah, Maria has yet to win her first gold medal, I think, this year. So it's difficult circumstances for Maria, but just based on merit and experience, I think you would still have to give her the advantage in this match, even though she's trailing right now.
Start of the second end, and this is the world number 13, Maria Szkolna from Luxembourg. Clipping the line.
Interesting for Andrea is her little like sun visor with the blocking thing for the left eye. I'm lost for words right now. But
Blinker. Blinker's the word you're looking for.
Yeah. I think it's to either remove the vision from her left eye because she might be left eye dominant, or it's so that she can shoot with both eyes open and keep a more relaxed face, because it's not super easy to keep your face relaxed, and you want to not tense up your face too much because it will just tense up your neck and shoulders as well. So some archers opt for a blinker, as you just told me, because that just makes it easier to focus on your scope and on the target, rather than having two scopes to pick from, especially if you're a cross-eye dominant or yeah, something like that will make it difficult.
Probably 8. maybe
Well,
8.
the in-venue announcer has called that an 8. Well, he said probably 8. I felt that was a bit closer to a 7. I'm not sure that touched the line. So that was a big arrow, having shot provisionally 2 10s. The first 2 arrows. Mocha had a pressure shot because it could have given her a massive lead here, but shoots a 7 for a 56 provisionally, and Szkolna, as I say, provisionally could have snatched the lead by a single point.
2 archers already had one match, one between the other one. They were in the quarter.
Yeah, this is a close match so far, even though their world rankings are so far apart. And that's, I think, it is the beautiful part about archery, but also in some cases very frustrating part in archery, where just having a high world ranking and having a lot of scoring level, like intrinsic scoring value, I think that doesn't mean that you have to win the match. So it keeps it interesting and it keeps it unpredictable. In some cases, that makes it very frustrating if you're the favorite in a match and you just get bested by the underdog.
Well, we saw there it's a 56 confirmed for Mocha, so 2 10s and a 7 for her. That 7-8 marked down as a 7. So Szkolna takes the lead with a 29 in number 2, and it's Mocha to start in number 3.
And like we've discussed before, shooting first is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're only trailing by 1 point. You can really put some pressure on your opponent. And well, we typically talk about it before the last end of a match. If you're trailing by 1 point and you're going into the last end, then you still have a really good shot at getting at least a shoot off or trying to go for the win, because you get the chance to shoot some good arrows and put some pressure on your opponent. I think the wind that we're seeing is not maybe bothering the archers as much as we suspected. Just going by the tips of their stabilizers. If you look at the amount of movement, it's not that bad. So, and it seems like the shirts are also relatively calm and not flustering.
9, 28 or 29 for Maria Szkolna. That means that we can be 86-86 tie score, or Andrea Nicole Mocha is leading by 1.
So you say the Italian might have a little bit of a home court advantage here, because it's close to Italy. It's also a Mediterranean climate. But then my argument against that would be the coach of Maria Szkolna is actually from Croatia, so he might have some insight here.
World ranking events, Maria Szkolna wants 53 times.
Small margins.
Average 6.
Tiny things making the difference. So we think provisionally 86 playing 85 in favour of Mocha, and this one's flipped around from end to end. We'll wait for confirmation. Showing a little bit of tension there, Andrea Mocha.
Well, she is allowed to have a little bit of tension, right? She's going up against one of the best compound female archers in the world, so might as well be a bit nervous. And my advice to beginning archers that shoot some final venues for the first time is always just own the nerves. Just don't try to hide them, don't try to push them away, but just acknowledge that you're nervous, acknowledge that you feel a bit of tension, and just roll with it, because the adrenaline that you get from being nervous is also something you can put to use by turning it into concentration and turning it into being sharp at the moment. Obviously easier said than done, but
yeah, and she's certainly in this one, all tied up going into the 4th. longer hold here from Szkolna, but worth it.
It's a 10.
Andrea really has a good group on her targets. She has a couple of flyers, especially, you know, the 7 stands out, but the group of her arrows for the rest is really small. So it's pretty much, it's either a 10 or a bad shot, rather than having a couple 9s that were okay. She's just shooting really well, and then sometimes she has a bit of a mistake.
Perhaps an indication of those nerves, and oh, there's another one. No pressure on this one. Another long hold, but perfect from Maria Szkolna for a 116.
Ten, 28 for Andrea Nicole Moccia, and now Maria Szkolna is leading by 2, 116.
So again, the lead changes hand, and Szkolna goes into the final end by going up by 2 points. So not completely commanding, but definitely a better position to be in. Sorry, Chef, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. The 2 points lead going into the last end is, I think, a really good vantage point for Maria, because she has been growing into the match. She's been shooting better throughout the match. And 2 points in a compound match, especially when the weather circumstances are okay, is difficult to get back from. Then again, it's really easy with a compound bow to, or with any bow, to make a little bit of a mistake and just be right outside of the 10 ring. So anything can still happen, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, this is it. Going for the compound women's gold medal match. Who is going to have the flashiest of dances?
It's a liner, 9, maybe 10.
Close one, that
That's
one.
one of those arrows. Yeah, that's one of those arrows that I meant. It's really easy to, with just the tiniest of a mistake, just shoot out of the 10 ring.
10.
And Maria's just, she seems to have found her rhythm and her groove, and she's just shooting 10s right now.
9.
On for a second. Perfect. Szkolna.
9, 27 or 28, final score 141.
Yeah, so
So
anything...
141 or 142 then for Moccia?
Anything within the red would do.
9:29 is enough. Maria Szkolna.
Well, there we have it. It was a topsy-turvy match. Moccia taking the lead early on, only for it to be stolen back by Szkolna. Moccia leveled things up in the third, but then fell behind with an 8 in the fourth. And Szkolna takes the compound women's gold medal. Her first, as you said, Chef, gold medal of the season.
Yeah, and she's been very close. She had some really tough opponents to shoot against before. For instance, in the beginning of the season, she had a match against the world #1, which doesn't really make it easier. But yeah, she manages to get the win here, and I think it's just a testament of how well her season has been going.
Great result from Andrea Moccia, though. Her first ever senior medal with the silver. But it's gold all the way for Maria Szkolna from Luxembourg. So the compound women's individual competition concluded. We will have medals coming up a little bit later on, and perhaps even an interview with the winner of this second stage of the European Grand Prix. But next up, we move on to the medal matches for the compound men's individual competition.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the participant to the bronze medal match for the compound men.
Time now for the compound men's bronze medal match. An interesting one. Two fairly new faces, both from Italy.
On target number 1, representing Italy, Michele Godano. On target number 2, representing Italy, Fabrizio Aloisi. Judge of the match is Miss Marlene Krebets. And we are ready to go with Michele on target 1, shooting first.
So a peek into the future of Italian compound archery. 21-year-old Michele Godano, world number 275, came ninth at the first Grand Prix in Lilleshall this season. Goes up against the 17-year-old Fabrizio Aloisi. No senior world ranking, but was the Indoor World Series Youth Finals champion earlier on this year in January.
Yeah, seems like he gets off to a good start. Seems like an easy shot that he just made. So I think the wind has kind of died down a little, and they're not too bothered by it right now.
X, the best 10 of today.
So far, I'd say.
9.
Good group, but just drifting high.
Yeah. I was gonna suggest that he were to move his sight, and he did. So
10
I guess he read my mind
20,
there.
10, 10, 10, 30 points.
So a perfect start.
And 29.
And that movement of the sight making a difference. A 29 though for Aloisi. It's Michele Godano who's got his eye in.
Italy versus Italy with Michele Godano that qualified 9 with 694. Well, Fabrizio Aloisi is still a junior.
So yeah, I think we've seen Michele before this season in the team match in Lilleshall, if I'm not mistaken. And if I remember correctly, I also said that his technique just looks really easy. He looks like he's well under control, and he just knows what he's doing. So, and I still stand by it. He has a really strong line work, I'd say. So the way he is aiming and holding his bow just leaves nothing to chance. And yeah, he must be the favorite for this match, although being 17 years old and shooting yourself to the gold medal match in the European Grand Prix also has to say something about your level of shooting. So I'm sure that Fabrizio has something to say about that.
He's going to start in number 2.
10x.
Yeah, I think he was not too happy with that shot. Not necessarily where it landed, but also how it went.
9.
And then it's time to you know, rationalize a bit and think, okay, it's fine. I can shoot a 9 every once in a while. Just get back to my task and try to recover from it as good as possible, rather than thinking, oh no, I messed up. What do I do now? Just go back to your task and do what you're supposed to do.
9-27. That means
So
that
pulled that
Aloisi
one, as you
is
saw,
back of
for a
the tournament, and
57.
now
So
takes the
it
lead,
is the 17-year-old
50-57 after
now
2
with the
minutes.
lead, switching things around by 2 points. 58 plays 57, of course, subject
Both
to
Italian
confirmation from the
Umag,
target judge.
Michele Godano
Chef,
is
I don't want
Fabrizio
to play too
57.
much on this one, but
And while Michele Godano
it's
has a
often in
world ranking
sport that you get a
175
clutch of young
from
athletes coming
Fabrizio
through
is
that
a
kind of
small
drive each
competition
other's level on. And that
that's giving world
certainly
ranking
looks to be
point.
the situation here with the
Michele Godano
Italian
is
team.
European
Yeah,
champion in
I don't know what
field,
the tactic was by the federation.
WTT,
Obviously,
and
they might
mixed
have
team
just sent a
and
junior team for
individual. No,
experience,
in
but
the team he was a
um,
silver medal. Okay.
in any case, they're doing really well. And
And
like you said, I
Fabrizio
think the
Aloisi has
top
a silver
level
medal
of
in
archery is getting
Charlotte
younger and younger.
Championship 2022
Obviously,
in
there
the
are some
team,
anomalies like
and the third as
um,
individual.
let's say Kim Woojin or Brady Ellison, or like there's some people who've been around for ages
Score are
and still
confirmed.
shoot really well.
Fabrizio is leading
But
by 1.
most
This
of the
is
people we
Michele
see
Wishin
on
goes
the
to
high
the third
level
and
of the World Cup circuit, for instance, are younger and younger, I feel.
Certainly seems to be the way. So Aloisi leading by a point. So it's the 21-year-old Mika Godano to shoot first in the third and straight into the 10.
Not too bad of a shot. Just didn't hit the middle. And it's a shame that the camera cuts away so fast, so you cannot really see much of their reaction. Although there was a bit of a reaction here. He tried to pull that up, but he knew that was going to go low.
10.
Looked to be a bit of up and down movement in that one, but panned out okay for Aloisi.
10x 29.
So the difference here between Mikia and Fabrizio is, or one of the differences obviously, is that for Fabrizio, I feel like most of the shots kind of look the same. So I think it's mostly the aiming pattern that's sometimes putting him in the 9 ring. Whereas Mikia, he either shoots a really good shot and it just hits the middle, or you can see that he wasn't too pleased with the shot. You can see that there was a reaction to where the arrow is gonna go. So it's like the difference of shooting either good or bad shots, or trying to shoot good shots the whole time. And it's I think a difference in experience level maybe.
Yeah, but there's really not very much in this one, is there? I mean, you couldn't get tighter than a single point match. And, well, now looking at it on the review by the target judge. Nope, there we go. It is a 1 point lead for Fabrizio Aloisi. But you've always talked, Chef, about this 1 point deficit. You get to shoot first, and perhaps there's a bit of an advantage in there.
Yeah, in some cases there is, I think. And I'm mostly going into the last end with 1 point deficit. I wouldn't say it's an advantage, but it's not necessarily a bad place to be, because you can put some pressure on, and you know, the pressure in a match will always rack up till the end, especially in a close match. But if you're only leading by 1 point, the pressure will only be more and more, because eventually it will mean that you need to shoot a 10 to win the match, which is not always an easy thing to do.
9.
Just like that, we're all square again.
10. 10.
We talk about
longer hold
perfection,
there.
chef. Sorry, we talk about perfection, chef. Godano's got 2 10s, but they're both a bit high left. Would he have adjusted his sight, do you think?
It depends on where his shot went off, because that one, for instance, it is in the group, but he knew that was going to go left. So then that begs the question: if his side pin would have been in the middle, would it have hit the middle? So he's the only person to really judge if he needs to adjust his sight or if he just needs to adjust his aim. But if you're consistently shooting in a certain spot, then it typically will reward you if you move your sight.
Well, provisionally all tied up at 116 apiece. Chef, you must have been in this position many times. What's it like going into the final regulation end, or set in your case, of course, as a recurve archer, with the scores tied? What's going through your mind?
Just keep doing your thing. A lot of things are going through your mind, but you've got to either ignore or just not put too much attention on most of the thoughts. But the thought that you want to have is just focus on my task. Do what I was supposed to do the rest of the match. Like, it doesn't change that you're tied. You shouldn't do anything else just because you're tied. And that's kind of, I think, the key thing. In archery, you don't want to overperform because that'll just make it worse.
Well, who is going to be eating the celebratory gelato this evening? We're about to find out. End number 5.
10x.
Mini advantage.
Yeah, and that advantage is a very important one. If he just is able to shoot another 10 here, yeah. Now Fabrizio knows that he needs to follow up with a 10 at least to keep some sort of pressure going.
10.
That's it. So Godano can take this medal with another 10.
9.
Out into the 9. This is a pressure shot now. A 10 required to level up the scores in this compound men's bronze medal match. Drifts over to the right for a 9, so 144. But what a tight match that was for bronze. And it is the 21-year-old Mika Godano from Italy who beats his teammate by a single point. A warm hug between the two athletes and two coaches. A superb performance from the 17-year-old Aloisi, getting a taste of the podium range, but on this occasion finishing 4th as the bronze medal goes to Mika Godano from Italy.
And it's confirmed. The bronze medal goes to Italy. Okay, in any case, to Mika Godano.
So a relatively happy Italian camp, 3rd and 4th. It was an up and down match. There was a bit of pressure in there, and a 17-year-old here, Fabrizio Aloisi, put in a great performance. But in the end, it was the 21-year-old compatriot Mika Godano who takes the bronze medal here in Umag.
It's maybe a bit uncommon to have the runner for the arrows to join in on the photo, the celebratory photo. But the runner in this instance is Marcella Tonioli, like a world-class Italian compound archer. So it made sense that she was in that picture, I guess. I guess they knew each other.
Yeah, and she was certainly in the background of the match. I'm not sure whether she was the agent, but she was certainly passing over the arrows to Godano. during that bronze medal match. Great company to be in. Oh, look at that. There's the Olympic recurve champion, Mete Gazos from Turkey. And we're showing him because coming up next, Turkey have interest in the compound men's gold medal match.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the finalist for the gold medal in the compound men.
So out they come for the compound men's gold medal match, and this is a high-quality affair. Turkey taking on Austria for gold at the second stage of the European Grand Prix.
Shooting for the gold medal on target number 1, represent Turkey, Batuhan Akaglu. On target number 2, representing Austria, Nico Wiener. Judge of the match is Mr. Berristrup. And we are ready to go with this gold medal match.
So it's time for the Pirates of the Mediterranean to take each other on. Batuhan Akçaoglu from Turkey, the world number 29, just 20 years old, taking on the Austrian world number 7, Nico Wiener, 26 years old. So Akçaoglu to get the match underway.
So this is an interesting match for, well, a couple of reasons. Akçaoglu is from Turkey, which has always had some really good compound archers, or archers in general. They have a really large archery scene in Turkey, or Turkey, I'm sorry, where they have a bunch of archers to pick from, and a very high competitive national scene. But he's shooting against the reigning defending world champion, so something to watch out for.
10. Ten, 29.
So will it be a perfect start for Wiener from Austria? Bit of movement, long hold as well. Didn't look happy with it and drifts down into the 9. So all square at 29 apiece. We said it was going to be high quality. You mentioned Wiener, world champion, reigning world champion, range, field and 3D world champion, in fact, Wiener, over his career. But this season, 33rd at the Honda Archery World Cup in Antalya, matched in Shanghai, the same result. Batuhan Akçaoglu from Turkey, he took a bronze in the Conquest Cup earlier on this year, but he's got 17th in Antalya, 9th in Shanghai. So you have to say form really is with the athlete from Turkey.
Yeah, he has been a bit more consistent this season, and yeah, on the other hand, you cannot really just ignore the fact that he's shooting against the reigning world champion. So in that regard, this is going to be an interesting match.
He's already 29 in the world ranking. He just took 10 position from last year. And was European champion in 2022 in Munich with a team in the compound man, of course. Previous gold medal was in 2019. Samsung.
So just looking at techniques, I'm gonna start at the end this way for once. Akçaoglu has a pretty like tense way of standing, with his spine kind of crooked. His left shoulder is quite high. There's a lot of like I know the Dutch word, but that doesn't help anyone. But it's like it's a very cramped up way of standing almost. Whereas Nico is more open. He has his shoulder pretty low. His arm is slightly bent to, I think, accommodate for his extremely long draw length, but also that's just the way he prefers to hold his bow. So it's two kind of polar opposites of how they're shooting, where the archer from Turkey is a bit more, tense. There's a bit more muscle tension, and Nico is kind of more relaxed and just waiting for the shot to happen.
I've got to know what that Dutch word is.
Gedrongen.
Gedrongen.
Yeah, that's actually quite good.
You sound surprised.
Yeah, not many people just repeat a Dutch word like that.
Oh, now, has that clipped the line? I think it might well have done for a 58.
Yeah, I think so as well.
So perfect from Venner, and a single point lead, subject obviously to confirmation, but it is interesting, the contrast in styles. But as you always tell me, Chef, it's all about what works for you, right?
Yeah, especially in compound archery, because there's a bit more you can get away with, I would almost say, because you have the let off to work with. You typically have like 25 to 30% left of your draw weight when you're in full draw. So as long as you get to that full draw position, you can then pick a position that's most stable and gets the best aiming pattern for you, because that's what's really important with compound archery. You do have to take in mind, or keep in mind, that you need to have a way to make your release go off without having it be on command for most people. So you need to have some room for extension in that regard. But it's not like recurve archery, where you're holding the complete bow weight and you will also have to extend through the clicker, where like there's only a couple ways you can really do that in the proper way without destroying your whole technique.
Another point of note in this match, just notice the wind flags, the wind socks have just slightly changed direction. Yes, the wind is blowing slightly left to right, but it now seems to be coming from behind the archers.
Excellent.
Yeah, you can see here that Xiaoglu, when he kind of pulls through his release height, you can see his chest is kind of rising a little bit, which is it's not uncommon, but it's not necessarily the most textbook way to do things. Whereas Nico, you can see that it goes all from the shoulder and from the back. So he's just pulling, and then his release goes off. This is not the best example, obviously, but that's just what you get for talking about it as a commentator.
29.
Standard being set here is incredibly high.
Nine 28 means 87 a tie score after 3 hands.
Well, there you have it. The scores all level here.
In this competition,
well, they're seriously under pressure here. 87 apiece in this second stage of the European Grand Prix in Umag, Croatia. Two very high quality archers going up against each other. Batuhan Akçoğlu from Turkey and Nico Venner from Austria, with absolutely nothing between them. So, Chef, the question you always love me asking you, who do you fancy for this one?
I think I've seen Nico in some clutch situations before where it was a really tight match, but then he just managed to pull through. And he seems to be relatively relaxed now, so I think I'm going to give it to him.
There you go.
And number
Prediction made. Actually, shooting first in the 4th of 5 ends. Has the pleasure of potentially putting some pressure on his Austrian opponent.
Nico always, like, he really has a peculiar way to get into his anchor position. But once he gets there, it seems really solid. He seems really comfortable. Whereas Batahan, he kind of just goes, like he pulls back his bow and he kind of like just puts his hand against his cheek as his anchor point. So again, a subtle difference in technique here, but you can see Nico kind of pulls back and then it's almost like he locks his hand behind his jaw, and it's a bit of a different approach.
Yeah, I noticed that Archery as well. He is looking at the target right from the start of his process, whereas when we see Venner draw, he's looking down at his bow. There was a bit of pressure on that one. Yeah, there was a bit of pressure, wasn't there? It kind of showed through, didn't it?
Yeah, it seems so. It's difficult to say from where we're sitting if it's due to some wind or if it's due to, you know, the nerves that he has. But I feel like that shot he couldn't get his sight to settle in the middle, and we saw that before in the second end where he shot the left low 9. Where it just seemed like he was battling his sight the whole way through the shot, and then he just couldn't get it to the middle. And by the time the shot went off, he already knew what time it was, sort of.
So 1 point difference going into the 5th, and it's Akçalı from Turkey with that advantage. We do, of course, wait for confirmation, but we're seeing the scores being changed now. I think it's 117 on target 1 and a 116 on target number 2.
Yeah, I'm sure that Nico has had a little bit of a conversation between the two ends now with his father, actually, Wolfgang, who is in the coach's box for him, and he is in the situation that we've talked about many times before, where you're trailing by 1 point, leading or going into the last end, which is not a terrible place to be in, because if you can manage to put down a really good score, that will mean that you put some pressure on your opponent, and you can kind of force your opponent into some really high pressure situations.
It's not that unusual, is it, in archery to see a bit of a family affair? A couple of Venners in the on the shooting line, target number 2.
No, it's not that unusual. It's typically it's also like it's something you can do at all ages. So you can start at a very young age, and you can do it until a very old age. So it might be something for you to pick up at some point. But yeah, it's a sport that can last for generations.
Young at heart, mate. Young at heart.
Last stand for the gold medal.
So going into the 5th, Venner trailing by a single point.
10.
Not the greatest shot, but manages to keep it just inside the 10 ring. And if he keeps doing that, he might get Akçaoglu to slip up a little bit.
10x.
No sign of that yet. So pressure switches over to target number 2.
There was a little bit of a hiccup there, but he steered it in the right direction and still shot a 10. But I think if Nico shoots a 10 here, then he still has a chance.
10.
Does it. They're perfect for a 146. Game on now for Akçaoglu. 10 for the win. Oh, finishes off in style. Boom, says the athlete from Turkey. A 147 is a very, very high quality score, and he needed it to take the gold. Batuhan Akçaoglu from Turkey taking the compound men's gold at the second stage of the European Grand Prix. Well, we knew that was going to be a tight one, Chef, didn't we? And it certainly was, as we get confirmation that Akçaoglu from Turkey takes the gold medal here, pointing at the Turkish flag. Very, very high quality match.
Yeah, very high quality and very impressive how Batuhan Akçaoglu dealt with the pressure and kept shooting on 10s.
This last one does not take time.
And it's not like Nico had a bad match. Like he had a couple of arrows that just went astray, but a 146 in a finals match is not necessarily a very low score. It's just, yeah, a 146 is just less than a 147. So, yeah, that's just the game of archery.
It certainly is. And it'll be a very happy walk across the park for Batuhan Akçaoglu, who's taken gold here in Croatia. So that's the compound individual medals all sorted out here on the Mediterranean coast. Beautiful blue skies here in Umag. And as you can see from one of the officials, they're going to be moving the targets now because we're going to turn our attention to the recurve medal matches very shortly. Here at this fantastic second stage of the European Grand Prix. Well, before we move on to the recurve matches, we will have the medal ceremonies, and there are all the athletes warming up right next to the podium range here in Umag. A few familiar faces there, not least of which
a lot of faces,
the Olympic champion.
A lot of faces we've already seen this season. So I think some repeat contenders here.
Well, the flag's fluttering away here. Hasn't caused too much of a problem. Perhaps in the very first match, the compound women's bronze medal match, it was its most disruptive. That's a match that Elisa Basicetto from Italy won. And they're just wrangling the athletes for the victory ceremonies.
In a few seconds, the award ceremony for the compound matches. I know that someone asked me, they said
So you can see there the targets being changed. They've been moved 20 meters back from the compound range. A 70-meter range for recurve archery. Bigger targets.
all the people involved to be ready for the award ceremony.
And for those of you in the know, Croatia, or Hrvatska, is the birthplace of the cravat, now commonly known as a tie. The athletes are all putting on their number ones right now for the compound medal ceremonies.
Nabík, daš jednu.
So, quick turnaround by the event organisers to set up the range for the recurve matches.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the victory ceremony in the compound woman.
Time now for the victory ceremony for the compound women's individual competition here in Umag, Croatia, the second stage of the European Grand Prix.
Medals and gifts will be presented by Darko Udul, President of the Organizing Committee and Croatian Archery Federation. Third place and the bronze medal representing Italy, Elisa Basicetto.
So Lisa Basicetto from Italy, a 21-year-old, came into the competition ranked 92 in the world, would have done her world ranking no harm at all. Receiving her medals and gift from the president of Croatian Archery, and a rather nice check that I'm sure will help with the rest of her season.
Place and the silver medal representing Italy, Andrea Nicole Moccia.
A first senior medal for the 20-year-old from Italy, Andrea Moccia, collecting silver here in Croatia.
And the first place and the gold medal representing Luxembourg, Maria Shkolna.
Well, silver in Lilleshall at the first leg of this European Grand Prix for the Luxembourg archer. But Maria Shkolna has gone one better here in Croatia, taking the gold medal.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Luxembourg.
There we have it, the compound women's division here at the second stage of the European Grand Prix complete. Maria Shkolna from Luxembourg taking gold from Andrea Moccia of Italy. And Italy also claiming the bronze medal with Elisa Basicetto.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the compound men.
Medal time now for the compound men's individual division here in Croatia.
Medals and gift will be presented by Mr. Yavuz Selim Kiran, Ambassador of Turkey. Compound men, third place, and the bronze medal representing Italy, Michea Godano.
Well, it's been a great week for Michea Godano from Italy, claiming the bronze. Had to go through a shoot-off in the ranking round to secure his rank of 9th for the match play stage of the competition. Had to be a plucky young 17-year-old teammate Fabrizio Aloisi in the bronze medal playoff. He did so by a single point to claim bronze here in Croatia.
Second place and the silver medal representing Austria, Nico Wiener.
Silver medal goes to Nico Wiener. It was a very high quality gold medal match. Again, a match won by a single point. Wiener coming out in second place. But a great performance from him. Will this kickstart the rest of his season?
And the first place and the gold medal representing Turkey, Batuhan Akaglu.
A very proud 20-year-old from Turkey claiming the gold medal. Batuhan Akçoğlu, the champion of Umag, and at the second stage of the European Grand Prix.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Turkey.
Well, a great conclusion to the men's compound competition. Batuhan Akçoğlu from Turkey taking the gold medal in a high-quality final. Nico Wiener from Austria having to settle for the second-place silver medal. And it's Michea Godano from Italy claiming his first senior international medal with the bronze. Coming up very shortly, we'll turn our attention to the conclusion of the Recurve individual competition, starting with the Recurve women's bronze medal match, a fight-off between two Ukrainians.
So everything is ready and we can go with the first recurve match. That is the one for the bronze medal in the recurve woman. And we welcome with a big applause the two finalists.
Time now for the Recurve women's bronze medal match here at the second stage of the European Grand Prix.
Target number one, representing Ukraine, we have Anastasia Pavlova. And on target number two, again representing Ukraine, Solomia Nip. Judge of the match, we already know Miss Marlene Credence, and we are ready to go with the first set. We move to 70 meters, the target is 122, and now we score with the set system. The first archer to reach 6 points will win.
So here we go. Anastasia Pavlova from Ukraine takes on her teammate Solomia Hnip. Pavlova, an Olympian who took a silver medal in the European Grand Prix in Porridge in 2021. He's going to get this match underway. Chef, we switch to the set system.
Yeah, set system means we shoot 3 arrows per set on 70 meters at a 122 centimeter target. The highest score of those 3 arrows, or the highest scoring archer, will get rewarded 2 set points. The tied score will mean 1 set point each, and the first person to have 6 or 7 set points wins the match.
For a centimeter, it's a 9.
Good recovery there from that previous arrow.
So 8 to catch the set, it's a 9. So the first set is for Nip, and we have 2-0.
So a solid start from Solomia Hnip from Ukraine against her teammate Anastasia Pavlova. So the first 2 set points going to Hnip. They're both slightly bent over at full draw, but very much more pronounced from Pavlova.
Yeah, most of her weight is on the front of her feet, and there's a bit of a bend in her hips, so she's leaning forwards quite a bit. It allows for a lot of room for expansion when you're pulling through the clicker, but it's also difficult to maintain balance and to keep very stable in your shot, so it's a bit of a risky thing to do. It's good to have a little bit of a weight shift to your front of your feet, but what Anastasia is doing is pretty extreme, I'd say.
Yeah, it certainly looks extreme, as you say. It's very bent over. Wind not really affecting things too much, but there was a 7 in the middle there from Anastasia, and she trails by 2 set points. So she'll shoot first in the second. Of course, this one could be done in 9 arrows if Solomia Hnip wins the next 2 sets.
9.
Always a very quick shot, Anastasia.
Way out right. Well, that one's
Yeah,
gone
I
even
think we can hear
further.
the mics picking up the wind, and we can see the hair and the the little flags on the target. We can see it all flutter quite a bit now, where before it was a bit more wind still. There you go. There's a good example of the wind. You can see them just move around quite a bit. So I think the wind has definitely picked up now, which is typically the case with an afternoon session or like a later session. In the morning, it'll be pretty still, pretty easy to shoot in. And then when the day gets a bit warmer and when it kind of it gets a bit later, the wind always tends to pick up.
So, Chef, I mean, when the conditions change like this, I think we've certainly been used to seeing the archers adapting very, very quickly. And to be fair to Snip, she did after that first six. She went on to take the set. Perhaps not the same can be said from Pavlova. She just didn't adjust quick enough.
Yeah, and Anastasia doesn't shoot so heavy, so her draw weight of her bow is not so heavy, so she'll be pretty affected by the wind as well. But yeah, it's always a risk. You don't know if the first arrow, if you were being blown around by the wind, if that also affected your shot, or if it was just the arrow getting pulled away by the wind, getting drifted by the wind. So it's a bit of a gamble. Like, okay, do I just adjust my aim completely, like judging off of where the last arrow went, or do I go halfway because I might have done something wrong with my shot? So it's difficult to go from a really bad arrow to the middle again in an instant.
Well, there needs to be a change here from Pavlova. Puts it into the middle of the target to put a bit of pressure on. 4-0 down, and that's just what she needs.
7. 8.
So still, both tend to go to the right quite a bit, which would be what the wind is indicating. But like you said, you would also expect them to adjust to the wind quite quickly, and it seems like it's kind of calmed down a little more.
7:25.
So a chance to do this one. Needs a 10.
9:25.
Puts it into the 9 for a tied score in the third. But on the scoreboard for the first time, it's Anastasia Pavlova,
5-1.
trailing by 4 points still.
Yeah, it's actually quite an important tied score for Solomia, because if you look at it objectively, she only needs to tie whatever Anastasia's shooting right now. So she doesn't need to win the set anymore. She just needs to tie one of the remaining sets, and she'll walk away with the match.
Comes with its own pressure, though, doesn't it? When you don't want to be, you don't want to go passive, do you?
No, that's a good point. And we always talk about like, oh, it's like a tactic to do it like this, or you could do it like this. But eventually, archery all comes down to just shooting tens, no matter the circumstances, or shooting as many tens as possible. So it shouldn't really matter what your opponent is doing, and it shouldn't really matter what set score you're at. But it's very tempting to think like that.
7.
Well, Pavlova starts the fourth with a 7. Room for error here for Snip.
9.
I will say, in terms of strategy, if it is windy, you sometimes need to take some risk, especially with the 20-second time limit. And shooting second in that regard, you kind of know how much risk you need to take in a certain shot, how much you need to aim off, or if you actually do need to aim off, or if you can just shoot a confident shot aimed at the middle. So there is a little bit of tactics, a little bit of strategy, but typically not really.
Well, massive opportunity here. Puts it into the 8, and that's more than enough. A 27 in this set for Knip. Plays 25, and a very confident and commanding 7-1 win for Solomir Knip, taking the bronze medal here in Croatia. Well, Chef, the win picked up in that second set, and really it was Solomir Knip who adapted quicker and then just maintained the momentum through to the end.
Yeah, it wasn't anything spectacular to see in this match, except for the fact that this is the first match today that we've really seen the wind be a factor, and that made the match interesting. So yeah, we might see a bit more of that in the coming 3 matches.
There you see the flags blustering away. A wind-affected Recurve women's bronze medal match taken by Solomir Knip from Ukraine, and she'll be on the podium just a little bit later on today.
The gold medal match for the Recurve woman.
As you can see, the targets being changed ahead of the Recurve women's gold medal match. It was all Ukraine in the bronze medal match. It's all Spain in the gold medal match. Coming up very shortly, Elia Canales takes on her teammate Leira Fernandez Infante.
For this gold medal match, that for sure the gold medal will go to Spain. Because we have on target number 1 representing Spain, Elia Canales. And on target number 2 representing Spain, Leira Fernandez Infante. And judge of the match is Mr. Benny Struber.
So Elia Canales on target number 1, 21 years old, took the gold medal at the first stage of the European Grand Prix in Antalya in 2021. Going for gold number 2 in this event, going up against a 19-year-old teammate, the Mediterranean Games gold medalist of 2022, Leira Fernandez Infante. Very relaxed affair there. Is that the case when you take on a teammate and you're both in the gold medal match? You know that your country's going to get both gold and silver.
It can be. It can be really relaxed, or it can be really stressful. I've had both instances where it can be really very relaxed because you know all the people around you on the finals venue, but it can also be stressful because you have to shoot against your teammate. It feels kind of like you can only lose because you kind of beat somebody from your own team if you win, and if you lose, then you've lost a match. So, yeah, there's different ways to look at it.
We're about to find out how this one pans out. The all-Spanish Recurve women's gold medal match. Canales taking on Infante. Canales shooting first.
7.
So it'll be interesting to see how Fernandez Infante will hit here.
10.
So slightly on the right, but I mean, you couldn't really say that she is hitting right if she hits the 10 ring.
9.
But I'm sure all of the teams right now coming up, so the Slovenian team, the Moldovan team, the Turkish team, and the French team, they're all looking at this thinking, seems everybody's hitting on the right. Maybe we should adjust for that when we go to the finals venue.
It's a liner 7, maybe 8.
It's a big opportunity to take the lead early doors. Just pulling that one right, and just about enough into the 7 for a 25. We've got 26 on the scoreboard, but it's definitely enough for the set points for Leira Fernandez Infante. Yeah, you say that you talk about the looking forward to the matches coming up. Is there a little bit of a disadvantage shooting first in slightly windy conditions?
There have been instances where, especially in team matches, we were higher ranked going into a finals match, and then if you're higher ranked, that means you can choose who shoots first. And then in windy conditions, we would sometimes pick the other team to shoot first so that we could see what the wind conditions do to their arrows, which is obviously also a risk, because then if they have already adjusted, you might think, oh, it's not too bad, and then, you know, if you don't adjust, then you still hit outside of the middle. But in many cases, it means that you get a little bit of an insight about the conditions on the field.
Then closer to the center, the shoot off.
So, set number 2, Canal is trailing by 2 set points. Shoots first.
So still struggling to find the middle a little bit, but like from our vantage point, it's difficult to really judge how much wind there is and how much there's just you know, visible tension going on. But just looking at that banner in the background, rocking back and forth, I think there must be some wind throwing shade. I don't know.
8. 9, 26.
So a 10 required by Fernandez Infante to tie the set. 9 for another 25. So we're all square. So Elia Canales perhaps adjusting a little bit better to the cool wind in her hair.
Yeah, she has a good, decent group going on as well. Bottom left. If she just adjusts her sight or adjusts her shooting accordingly, then she might get a really high score in this next set.
The match won average is 59% for Elia Canales and 55.5 for Leira Fernandez.
It's a difficult venue as well. If it's if the wind does start to pick up, there's not many flags or like much to go by. There's no trees around. You cannot really see what the leaves are doing. So because it's so open, as an archer, you don't really have a lot of you know, reference points to judge the wind from.
Yeah, and there's not so many flags down the range as well. So
no, you've got a couple windsocks, and then next to the podium, there's a couple flags that you can maybe, like the tall ones, that you can maybe judge something from, but that's pretty much it.
It's a wide group for Canales, suggesting perhaps that the conditions do change down the range. A bit of movement there from Fernandez Infante.
Yeah, I think judging by how tense that release was, I think she pushed it towards the middle rather than firing just a smooth shot that she would have maybe preferred. She gave a little bit of English and managed to get it in the gold.
Nine.
So a solid finish in the end from Canales.
So saying tense release, I mean, normally you'll see her hand leaves the string pretty relaxed. So it just, the fingers kind of open and the hand goes straight back without any weird movements. The first shot, she had a bit of a, a hiccup almost. It was almost as if she opened her fingers herself rather than relaxing them and letting the string open them. Typically that's a sign of a bad release, but I think in this instance, it was just her trying to correct for whatever was going on with the rest of the shot.
So we talked about the intramural affair, two country archers taking each other on, in Canales and Fernandez Infante, and perhaps the pressure is showing a bit. It is a wide group from Canales, isn't it? They're kind of all over the shop at the moment.
Yeah, it's not necessarily what we're used to seeing from her. She has a really good level of shooting, and yeah, this is not maybe what we've come to grown used to.
Showing a little bit of a pressure on her face there. Canales trailing by 4 set points to 2. We'll shoot first in the fourth. She came back from behind in the second. Can she do it again in the fourth?
That was a nice and quick shot there. Yeah, that was another one. It's just a slight nuance almost, but you can see the difference in how the fingers leave the string when Infante releases. So sometimes she has like a really fluid, like the fingers just kind of relax and then it's fine. This one was good. And the previous shot, there was like her fingers were all stretched out after release, and there's a bit of a difference there. And it's not necessarily that she releases it in a bad way. That's a very good group, by the way, by Elia. But it's not necessarily that the release is bad, but there's always something in the rest of the shot that leads up to a bad release. So it's a common misconception in archery that people think they need to fix their release. But fixing your release is actually working on the rest of your technique, because a good technique will lead to a good release.
Well, it's certainly proving to be an interesting match, that is for sure. Leia Fernandez Infante going ahead twice in the match, only to be pegged back twice by Canales. And we go into the fifth and final regulation set with the pair tied at 4 apiece. Too tough to call, isn't it?
It is very tough to call, yeah, especially because the momentum seemed to be with Fernandez Infante, and then Elias just come back and started shooting really good groups. So it's difficult to say who's gonna prevail here.
So all square going into the fifth. Canales versus Spanish teammate Fernandez Infante.
So still undecided about who wants to win this.
Pulling that one across. She did that before. Second hour of the fourth. Got it in the 10 again. It's a big pressure shot here for Fernandez Infante.
Cool. That's actually quite impressive, going by how much he was moving in the wind.
A chance now for Canales to take the lead for the first time at the most important time. A 9 for a 27. And this is out of reach now for Fernandez Infante. Pops it into the 10 when the pressure was off for a 26. But what a remarkable victory from Elia Canales, taking a 6-4 victory against teammate Leia Fernandez Infante for her second Euro GP. gold medal following up from the gold she won in 2021 in Antalya. The champion of Umag here in Croatia, Elia Canales from Spain. Well, Chef, it just goes to show, it doesn't matter if you're behind all the way through the match. As long as you are leading at the end, you're the one that's going to walk away with the victory.
Yeah, just shoot more points than your opponent and you'll be good. It's actually a really simple game.
But it's the beauty of the set system. I mean, not being disparaging at all to compound archery, but that accumulative score, if you get a big lead by the third end in compound archery, you're odds on to win the match. Whereas in the recurve system, it's never out of reach.
No, exactly. You can trail 4-0 and still, well, I wouldn't say easily, but you can still get into the match and go ahead and win it, like we've just seen.
Well, happy days for the Spanish team. Elia Canales taking gold, Lea Fernandez Infante taking the silver, and it was Solomir Hnip from Ukraine with the bronze medal.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the finalist for the bronze medal in the recurve men.
Well, as the wind dies off here on the Mediterranean coast in Croatia, it's time to settle the medals in the recurve men's competition, starting with the recurve men's bronze medal match.
The club archer from Slovenia, then Evgen Malavazic. And on target number 2, representing Moldova, Dan Olaru. Judge of the match is Miss Marlene Kredels. We are ready to go.
Bronze medal contest in the recurve men's competition. Here's a playoff against Den Habjan from Slovenia, up against this man here, Dan Olaru from Moldova, winner of the Hyundai Archery World Cup stage in Antalya. Habjan has taken gold in the Veronica's Cup this season, and he's going to get the match underway.
Yeah, in a very windy condition, but he seems unfazed. I was going to say this is going to be an interesting match because Dan is fresh off of his win in Antalya. He didn't go to Shanghai. So the last competition we saw him at, he won the World Cup stage in Antalya. The last time we saw Dan Habjan in the TV match was the Veronica's Cup in his hometown of Kamnik, where he shot a very impressive gold medal match. So both archers here on the line, very high level, and yeah, I think this is going to be a very high level match.
9:29.
Oh, 29 from the Slovenian. Can be matched with a 10 from Olaru. Ooh.
It's difficult to see.
So our first really important line call here, target judge coming into play.
What is nice though is that we're running a little bit late, behind schedule, but Dan and Dan are just keeping up the pace so that we can get back some time and you know, get back in line with the schedule.
Well, we haven't had a clear indication of whether that 9 has been marked as a 9 or a 10.
It is a 9 because he would have had 1 point.
Indeed. The eye of the tiger, Chef Vandenberg, spotting the score going up. Sorry, I couldn't resist. 2-0 then for Den Habyan.
So no line, it means that the first set goes to Den Abshan Malavazic, target 1, and Danolaru shoots first, the second set. And he starts with a 10.
You can see that the wind has just slightly changed direction again here in Umag.
Yeah, it's really starting to pick up now, I think. You can feel or hear the mics picking it up, but both these archers have a pretty respectable bow weight and quite strong technique, so I think they should fare pretty well in these windy conditions.
Well, big opportunity here for Alaru to level things up. 9 will be enough.
Ooh, but he opens the door and leaves a little bit of an opportunity for Dan here.
8 to 10. Oh, just outside for a 27. And we are all square at 2 apiece. You talked about a heavy bow weight, which helps stabilize things in these windy conditions. But we're in a coastal town. We're right on the coast here in Croatia, in Umag. Alaru winning in Antalya, notorious for its windy coastal conditions, and he took gold there.
Yeah, and the fact that he has such a quick shot also helps him out here. Although what must help Dan here is that he lives in a Mediterranean country as well, so he has a very similar climate and a similar, similar wind, I would say, than Croatia.
Well, that gives you a clue as to how the conditions are. And we talked about this many times before, but it's worth noting the conditions are windy. But if it was stable wind, if it was steady, pointing in the same direction, the archers can handle it. It's when it's blustery, that's when the real problems start to come in.
Yeah, that makes it way more difficult. If it's stable, then you can just either move your sight or pick a point on the target to aim at. But when it's blustery, when there's like gusts of wind, then sometimes you get caught off guard, and then your sight just moves off the gold right as you're gonna release. So that makes it really difficult. So not the easiest of circumstances, and you can see that most of the arrows that are not in the middle go to the right, and I think that is all to do with the wind coming from left to right. Yeah, not the best of releases, but I think it's difficult to, in these circumstances when you're being blown around by the wind, it's difficult to keep your technique together because you just try to do anything it takes to get the arrow to hit the gold, or to hit the 10 ring in this case, because a gold is not enough at this level. So you cannot really blame the archers for having an I would say ugly shot every once in a while, because that's just them trying to get it in. Looking at Don Olaru though, his procedure, his approach is a little bit different in the regard that he just puts his sight on the middle, pulls it through the clicker as fast as he can, and just goes for it. Which is also, if you can do that, if you have enough trust in your instincts to get the arrow in the middle, then that's a very good technique in the wind.
Well, you can see the darkening clouds overhead. There have been storms through this part of Europe over the last week. Rain's holding off at the moment. But it's Alaru who's come from behind to lead 4-2. And that's why Habjan shoots first. and into the 10. You look at the performance trajectory of these two athletes within the match. Alaru's gone 28, 28, 29, and he starts with a 10 as well. And Habjan's gone 29, 27, 27. He needs to arrest that slide, the Slovenian.
Bit of a longer hold.
10x. 9.
So 10 for the first perfect of the match, and putting this set out of reach.
10, 10, 10,
Pops it into the 10 for a 30 and levels the match up.
9, 28. The fourth set goes to then Abjan Malavasic from Kamnik, and now we are 4-4. Nice score.
So all square in this bronze medal match. You mentioned quality. This is serious high quality. World number 22 against world number 7. How much pressure comes off an athlete when they win the very first high-end archery World Cup of the season? Of course, I'm talking about Dan Alaru from Moldova.
Yeah, well, it's going to give him some pressure, but also some confidence, right? He knows he can do well on the world stage. This is a European Grand Prix, but it's still a very high-level competition, and he knows now that he can win those. He's really a contender, so that I think that'll help him.
So we go into the 5th with the scores all tied up. Well, if you can call it a dip, it's a dip of sorts. 29, 27, 27 from Habjan, but then followed that up in the 4th with a perfect. He comes into this 5th set shooting first with the scores all tied, but his confidence will be super high now.
9.
Again, his group is either in the middle or it's like it wavers out to the right. And that's very similar to Dan's group. If you look at his target, you can also see it's either middle, low, or right. So depending on how difficult the wind is, they're shooting really well or on the right.
So an opportunity here for the Slovenian. A 10 for the bronze medal. Oh, brilliant from him. Dan Habjan has put this one out of reach with a 29. There's 3 9s for Alaru. Alaru is going to the high-end archery World Cup final in Hermosillo, Mexico at the end of the season, but is off the podium here at the second stage of the European Cup. It's a second gold medal on the international circuit for Dan Habjan Malavasic from Slovenia. Having won the Veronica's Cup earlier on this season, he's now taken a bronze medal here in Croatia. It was another intriguing one, wasn't it, Chef? With Habjan going out early into the lead, and then Alaru pegging him back over 2 sets, but leveled up in the 4th, and then very solid shooting in the last 2 sets from the Slovenian.
Yeah, this was one of the better matches we've seen today, I think. The standard of shooting was high. You could see that they were affected by the wind just by looking at their groups and the direction of the stray arrows. But yeah, by any means, I think they both did really well, and a very impressive 10 to round off that match by Dan Habjan Malavasic. I was expecting you, Kareem, to make some kind of joke about "In the Name of Love," and then Dan having his girlfriend or the mother of his kid behind him, but nothing.
I've got to leave some of the gold to you, Chef.
It's not so easy for me. I'm not a native speaker, you know.
The last match of this.
We've got one more to go here in Umag, Croatia at the second stage of this European Grand Prix. And what a match it is. Turkey have fans waiting in the wings because it's their Olympic champion who's up next in the gold medal match.
On target number 1, representing Turkey, the Olympic champion, Mete Gazos. On target number 2, representing France, Thomas Giro. Judge of the match, once more, Mr. Benny Strube.
So here we go. Mete Gazos from Turkey, world number 10 at 23 years old, is the reigning Olympic champion from Tokyo. He won the first Grand Prix this season in Lilleshall and going for his second gold in this circuit event here in Croatia. Goes up against the 25-year-old Frenchman, world number 19, Thomas Giro, winner of the Vegas shoot this year. So another high-quality match. The top 2 seeds from the ranking round face off against each other for gold here in Croatia.
And this matchup has happened before, if I remember correctly, and I think it was the Olympic qualifier actually that led to Mete going to the Olympic Games and eventually becoming Olympic champion. So the last time they met, there was a lot on the line.
Nine.
And I think a couple of years ago, we saw a bit more of Thomas Giro on the finals venues. He was shooting a bit more consistently. And I think he recognizes that fact because last couple of days when I looked at his social media, he posted something with the hashtag she is back. So he recognizes that he has been away for some time, but now he says he's back and he's in it to win it, I think.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. Now, that last arrow looked to be a line cutter. Certainly it was called that in venue. Important to check this one because it's a 1 point difference in favour of the Frenchman. If that 9-10 liner is marked as a 10.
Giro scored the second result in the qualification round, 1 point less, 5.57. Was preceded also in 1:16, where he defeated Matti from Romania, 7-1. Then in the 8th final, Oleski Hunbin 6-2. Florian Biu 6-2 in the quarterfinal, and Dan Olar in the semifinal 6-4. It was 26-26, 1-1 tie score.
So
Okay,
it was.
so confirmation.
Go on, Chef.
Confirmation that we have a tied set score. The arrow from Thomas was upgraded to a 10, and therefore 26-26.
So nothing separates the archers after the first set. Let's have another go. Time for set number 2.
Seems like the wind is maybe not as bad this match. Just looking at the stuff around, like the flags and the banners, and although he's taking an awfully long while to get this shot off.
Another good opportunity to look at technique as well. I mean, just look at the finishing position at full draw for Gazos, bent over. Whereas Shiro
Mete has
much more upright.
Mete has a very peculiar technique in that regard, where he kind of leans into the shot both to the front of his feet, but also leans back a little bit. Whereas Thomas is like, it's almost like a capital T. It's just one line straight up and then two lines straight to the side. So it's a bit more, almost textbook. And then he has a little bit of a different release as well, where Mete's release is kind of flowy. You can see the fingers leave the string, and then his hand just kind of flows backwards. That was, again, not the best example, because he had a bit of a long hold. But the release of Thomas is a bit more static, if you will. So that you can see that the fingers don't relax as much as the fingers of Mete do, and his hand kind of stays in the same position. He just I wouldn't say he plucks the string, because that has a bit of a negative tone to it, but it almost looks like it.
Saw a couple of long holds there from both archers in that second set. Is that just down to wind conditions?
I think so, yeah, because you're not so certain about your side being out of the middle. So it's easy to just wait for the wind to die down a little, so that you can aim in the middle before you shoot your shot. And in recurve archery, that's a bit easier than with compound archery, because you can decide to pull or not to pull, and you can always just release if you need to. With compound archery, you're a bit more dependent on what type of release you use, and how comfortable you are with making it go off on command.
1981 Veronica's Cup, 2021 the quarter tournament for Tokyo, the Spring Arrow tournament, 2 times.
Set number 3 in this recurve men's gold medal match. Thomas Shiro from France taking on the Olympic champion from Turkey, Mete Gazos. Gazos leading 3-1.
10 for Thomas Shiro.
Another difference in technique is the way they put their hand in their grip. If you look at Mete, he has like a very clear angle on his knuckles compared to his bow, about 45 degrees, but it's not exact science. Whereas Thomas almost has his grip straight. You can see his knuckles are almost pointing straight, so the angle is much sharper. And yeah, that's interesting, because typically that would mean that you either hit your arm or that you grip your bow. And gripping your bow is not really being done a lot by high-level archers. That's why they have that finger sling, that little rope attached to their fingers, so that they can let the bow jump out of their hand straight, and don't affect it too much. Thomas he doesn't hold his bow, but he catches it with his fingers. A lot of wind there, so this is not going to be a beautiful shot, I think.
Oh, he's holding on, isn't he?
He needs to. That was, I was going to say he didn't pull it through the clicker before releasing. I think he was in a time pinch. And if you shoot your arrow and the clicker hasn't gone yet, the clicker will affect the flight of the arrow. And for a right-handed archer, that means that your arrow will drift off to the right. Typically also low, but I think he also adjusted for that.
Yeah, they both struggled there a little bit with the wind, but from a solid winning position. It's definitely blowy out there. But from a solid position there, Shiro with that last arrow going into the 5, I don't want to say gave the set away, but he opened it up when perhaps Gazos would have thought this one's gone.
Yeah, and that's just what weather circumstances can do, because I think in any other wind still circumstance he wouldn't have shot a 5. It's just that there was so much wind in that shot, he was holding on and waiting for the wind to die down, but it never died down. and that put him in a bit of a pinch in terms of time, and he needed to shoot. Decided not to pull it through the clicker, or decided that he needed to release before the clicker went, and that will make your arrows go to the right. So he could have maybe aimed off to the left a bit, but yeah, it's not something you kind of think about in a moment like that. You just go for it, and yeah, the 5 was the result.
So a 5-1 lead for Mete Gazos from Turkey. Thomas Shiro Chichi, as Chef said he's known. Said he's back. He's definitely back in this gold medal match, but he needs to fight hard now, trailing by 4.
Seems to be just out.
Probably a 9, but 9.
I think in this circumstance, in these windy conditions, you would also favor Mete for, always training in Turkey, where typically it's quite windy, either in Antalya or in Belek or wherever he's shooting. Yeah, so I think he just has a lot of experience shooting in wind, and he seems to always top the tables when it comes to competitions in windy conditions.
It's a big opportunity here for Gazos. An 8 to be sure. A 7 might be enough. Puts it into the 10 for a definite win here for the Olympic champion. A 7-1 victory over Tomas Shirau for Mete Gazos, who claims the gold here in Umag, Croatia, at the second stage of the European Grand Prix. Chef, you're the expert, you know these things better than I do, but it certainly looked to me like Shiro was being buffeted by the wind at full draw a lot more than Mete Gazos.
Yeah, it might be either that Mete was a bit more sheltered by the tents behind him, or just the fact that Mete was so stable in his shot that he didn't really notice so much, or that he wasn't affected so much. But it sure did seem that the wind affected Tomas Shiro a bit more, and there's always speculation, like, is there a favorable target? Like, would you rather shoot at target 1 or target 2 in this finals venue because of the wind, or because of the in Shanghai we had the fountains pulling a cold draft, pulling the arrows to the left. So that there's always like theories, and there's always people looking at stats thinking like, oh, there are so many people on the left or on the right target that won, but well, purely looking at these two shooters, I think it also kind of makes sense that Mete did so well in windy conditions because he's just used to it. So not having shot at this venue, I'm not surprised that this is the outcome of this particular match.
But looking at Tomas Shiro, he, as he said on his social media, he says he's back. He looks to be back in great form. Perhaps not his best match in this gold medal final, but it's great to have him back.
Yeah, it's good to see him back, and I hope to see more of him, because it's always, especially in good conditions, he knows how to shoot very high scores, and he always is cool as a cucumber. So it's cool to see on a finals venue somebody who seems unfazed by pressure.
In the end, the Olympic champion has taken gold here in Umag just as the wind really starts to pick up. It would have been interesting to see some archery in these conditions. The group here, particularly in the Recurve division, looking ahead to Paris 2024 is on the horizon. The first of the Olympic qualifiers for the Europeans takes place this month, in fact, just in a few days' time in Poland at the European Games. And of course, the French will be looking to secure places early doors. Then look back over the session and saw the recurve women's bronze medal match played off between two Ukrainians, Anastasia Pavlova losing out to Solomia Hnip. A 7-1 victory for Hnip in that bronze medal match. It was an all-Spanish affair in the recurve women's gold medal match. Elia Canales taking on this young archer, Leira Fernandez Infante. Infante edged into the lead a couple of times in the match, but in the end, Elia Canales, the world number 13, taking the lead at the crucial stage of the match to take the gold medal. Coming up very shortly, we will have the victory ceremonies for the recurve division here in Umag, Croatia, as we conclude proceedings at the second stage of the European Grand Prix.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the individual recurve woman.
Victory ceremony time here in Umag, Croatia, at the second stage of the European Grand Prix. And first up, we celebrate with the medalists in the recurve women's individual competition. bronze medal going to Solomia Hnip from Ukraine, the 25-year-old, picking up her first senior international medal. Fine performance from her in the bronze medal match against a teammate, countryman Anastasia Pavlova. It was an all-Spanish affair in the gold medal match. There, Fernandez Infante had the lead a couple of times in that match, only to be pegged back right at the end. But a very happy 19-year-old adds silver to the Mediterranean Games gold she won last year. Now Canales, the 21-year-old, the biggest smile of the bunch. She took a gold at the European Grand Prix in Antalya in 2021, and she's taken gold here again in Umag, Croatia in 2023.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Spain.
So gold then to Spain's Ilia Canales, beating a teammate into the silver medal position, and that's there Fernandez Infante on your left. And first international senior medal for Solomia Hnip from Ukraine, collecting the bronze medal. Coming up very shortly, we'll move on to the victory ceremony for the Recurve men's competition here to conclude things in Croatia. So the medals being presented here for the recurve men. It's then Habjan of Slovenia with the bronze medal. Frenchman Thomas Giraud is definitely back, collecting the silver medal here, having taken gold at the Vegas shoot earlier on this year. But it's back-to-back gold medals at the European Grand Prix, having taken gold at stage 1 in Lillehammer earlier this year. There is the trademark celebration from the Olympic champion from Turkey, Mete Gazoz. So there we have it, gold for Turkey's Mete Gazoz. The silver goes to Thomas Giraud from France, and it's then Habjan from Slovenia with the bronze medal here in Umag, Croatia, at the second stage of the European Grand Prix. Chef, a couple of weeks' time, do you fancy a quick trip to Medellin in Colombia?
Oh, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Well, join me and Chef live from the third stage of the Hyundai Archery World Cup in a couple of weekends' time, all the way out in Colombia. But for now, thanks for joining us. That's it from Croatia.